Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are we
Good
doing
morning.
midweek? Do we have any really avid Kelly Clarkson fans? I don't know if these no love for Kelly Clarkson. Okay, all right. I thought there might be some love, but who's got a good win to start us off on Hump Day here? Somebody have something for us? Who had a good Tuesday? Corey, what do you got?
One of my agents is on his way into Boston for a $3 million listing appointment today.
Okay.
So, wanted to wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, that's a big one there. Well,
There's a lot. There's more to that story. He had to fight for that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that the client sent him a really nasty text with his stats and the fact that he was newer and what could he do for him because he's not a specialist in large dollar properties. So very impressive that he was able to get the appointment and have this conversation with this guy. Did a great job.
Maybe in roundtable that's something that we can talk about is higher priced listings when you haven't done one. How do you do it? Cool. Anybody else before I get into kind of my little topic for today? All right. Well, last week we did quite a bit on personal finance, and we talked about trying to save some money. That I think we're in this consumer mentality, and there's the places where we're spending where I don't think we need to, and hopefully you guys have made maybe even at least one adjustment somewhere. But I think I wanted to talk about the following topic, which is cutting corners sometimes, especially on product, might not always be the best way to go, right? If we cheap out on something, sometimes in the long run, it's going to cost you. Maybe that's, buying the cheaper piece of furniture or buying that cheaper car, and then you end up in the garage so much that, it would have just been easier to buy a newer car, spend a little bit more money, stuff like that. There are some products out there that when you look at the long term, it's going to make some sense to spend a little bit more money. And I wanted to use that as kind of a transition into kind of growing yourself. And when you're making those investments, that I think cutting the corners very rarely is going to cost you more in the long run. It's something that I've been working on with the kids lately. And I was like, you know what, we really should be talking about it here on the morning call. And just with my kiddos, it's just taking the easy road or taking the hard road. How do we find those little opportunities, and where are we trying to cut the corners on personal development, and that it's not in our best interest? Because I think on personal development, when we take the hard road, there's so many lessons that we can learn. And you might be saving short term, but it's like 10x return when we look at the long term stuff. So I just, as we were reflecting back on last week, and I'm having these conversations with my kids, I just wanted to bring it up because I think we see a lot of agents trying to cut corners. And this industry, just cutting the corners in the short term, is just never going to get you there. Whether it's making your dials to just get more opportunities so that you get more reps, so that you mess up more conversations so you get better at it, or it's being short with a client that maybe had you given them more of the time of day and built that deeper relationship, it turns into more referrals and you get the friends and the family, and and all of that stuff. And there's so many different areas, I think, in real estate, managing those client relationships. We were looking the other day at like just the amount of like how quickly we don't want to meet with people. And it's eye-opening to me sometimes why we're in the business of building relationships. And it seems like sometimes we're trying to do everything that we can to not build a relationship. So I wanted to open it up. You guys are out in the field, and I wanted to talk about it. Let's talk about building relationships and what's going on. It seems like a lot of times there's a hesitation to pour into a client. James.
Yeah, just to comment on I'll tie the two things together. You started talking about quality, basically, and it's sometimes worth paying for. I think it's always worth paying for. It just lasts longer, and so on. And to tie that in then to your relationships with your clients, if you think about it, in many cases, you're trying to get a client to be more realistic about what they need to pay for a property to be competitive. You're asking them to pay for the property and maybe on top of that, invest in some work that needs to be done to get it up to where they need it to be to live in. And if you are skimping and cutting corners in your own life and in your own mentality, how then can you encourage someone else to think like that? It doesn't add up. So I have a situation right now where young couple buyers have purchased a $1 million home, single family, and that's closed. But now there's a use and occupancy in place, and when that's finished, they need to invest. At the point of offer, I told them they would need to put in about 50 to 75,000 to paint, rip up old carpets, refinish the floors, and so on, to make it livable for them, and then defer, not waste their money beyond that, just defer everything else over the next 2 to 3 to 4 years in phases, replacing decks and things like that. So in order to educate them, encourage them, act like I was spending my own money, we got 3 estimates for that. The first one came in at 110,000, which absolutely shocked them and made them sort of look at me a little bit, even though they didn't say it. I knew it was there. What have you gotten us into? That's above what you said. We had a low ballpark from one of my contractors that was around 35,000. But when that came in, that was just a text number. I told them, don't get stuck on the 35. You're going to have to pay more than that. He hasn't been in the property yet. So let's get multiple, and I'll help you pick the right one. And now we're at a point, 4 contractors in with estimates that have come out around 53,000, and they're going to be very happy. Get that done in a month and be able to move in September 1. But that mentality of getting them to realize they've got to pay a bit more to get what they want, now they're very comfortable with it.
I think these are some of the things like where, you're spending time where it might not feel like you're getting anything in return. The sale's done. This is extra stuff that you're working on. But I think most people do appreciate the time and energy that you're putting in, and they want to repay. They want to send you that referral. They want to send you somebody else. So it's been interesting, building a company where, we primarily built this based off the leads, and trying to get people more at bats. I saw a need, in my opinion, at my previous brokerage where people just weren't getting enough at bats. And if you get them more at bats, if they spend the time, they should do more business. And of late, it just seems like we're not willing to spend the time. And I don't know if we're not developing the conversations the right way, because honestly, I don't want us spending time with people that are never, ever going to be able to buy, right? Those people, we've got to just get them some resources to help them to move on. But I think most people that you come across with the right guidance they're going to transaction in the next couple of years, right? It might not be right now, but I don't know. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out there. What are these conversations sounding like? Go ahead, KB.
I honestly feel like just being around agents and having conversations with agents is that the conversations aren't sounding like much because they're texts, and I think that a lot of people are comfortable texting, obviously, right? But you can't really communicate through a text message. You can't relay emotion, even with emojis. You can't express concern, and you can't get someone to trust you if the base of your communication is a text message. When you're having conversations with your clients, you're trying to guide them in the right direction, or you're trying to give them your feedback. We should always be calling them. It has to be a conversation. And I think that that's one of the reasons that people are having a hard time building the rapport and the relationships with the people that they're meeting, because they're only meeting them. Maybe it's a lead that comes in, they go out, they show them the property, and then every communication I see after that is a text message. And that's not how you build a relationship. So I think that that's really one of the biggest things that we need to focus on making sure we're not doing. And there are plenty of people that are on this call and not on this call that I know for a fact that they struggle with that, but you got to get out of your comfort zone in order to build the relationships.
Anybody like doing really well in this area that just wanted to kind of speak to it of like, hey, here's how I'm approaching it. Here's what I've learned over the years of doing this. Here's how I've changed my approach. Margareta?
Morning, all. I guess one thing that jumps for me is when I do it right, I'm available. You have to be available personally for those kind of relationships, where, you cannot have a personal issues or something in your life that's, just too strong, that's holding you back. And you fix that. It's like that analogy when the plane's going down. Put your oxygen mask on yourself first, so you can save the others. And you have to have that genuine availability to say, "Hey, I'm here for you. I'm helping. I want to help you." Because if you have, bottom line, other things, you got to take care of that before you can do anything. Because I've noticed when I had my issues or whatever versus where I'm available, it's just a very different conversation with the people, and they feel it.
That's a great insight. And I think it's your ability to reflect on that and kind of realize that. I know I hear from leadership a lot of times, hey, this agent's production's, gone off a little bit. What's going on? They got, some personal things that they're dealing with. We hear that quite a bit. Anybody want to just talk to specifically? Has anybody just kind of completely checked out when the personal stuff is going on? Hey, I'm able to balance both. Hey, I've tried to balance both and I can't. I'm in Margareta's boat. Like, I just don't feel like I've got the right availability when I'm in that mindset. I'd love to hear from some other people on how they're dealing with those situations where, hey, I got some stuff going on.
When you have things going on in your personal life, especially when they seem like a lot or that they're building upon each other, it is just so easy to mentally let yourself get trapped in that and always thinking, what am I going to do to fix this? And sometimes those things just need time, right? And maybe there's not a lot that I can be doing right now to fix it. And so personally, also having a work or something else that I can really check into and focus on, kind of being able to take away from those personal issues, has actually made them a little bit easier to deal with. They're not in your brain 24 hours. You're able to kind of have a little bit of separation and away from something that is causing maybe a lot of pain and a lot of stress to you, and then revisiting it after you've had some time away and a fresh brain on it. So.
That's a interesting take of just kind of flip flopping and going the other way and going, hey, look, if I let myself kind of dwell on this all day, every day, it's going to take up all of me. And hey, you know what? I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this other thing to use it almost to take my mind off of it. That's a great technique. Anybody else want to share? Thanks for that insight. Who else has dealt with something that might be able to share on and help somebody? Maybe somebody on the call is going through something right now that you'd be able to help. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, I say it all the time. Everybody's got their shit, but you're never in it alone. Like, you always have friends, you always have family, you always have coworkers, you even always have clients that can really understand and empathize with you and help you get through the tough times, right? And now, on flipping the coin on that side is, think about our clients too. They're not sitting there waiting for Corey to call them to sell them a house, right? They have shit going on in their lives that maybe buying a house right now isn't their number one priority. So we can't go in there with all these preconceived notions of what they're going through and why they're going through it and how they're going through it. You got to put yourself in their shoes as well. So, I mean, everybody's got their shit. We're all in this world together. There's always somebody willing to help, and that's what you guys, I feel, and that's what I teach my kids is somebody's always there to help, to guide you, to lead you, to teach you, and to cry with you, and I think that's what helps me get through things.
It's a great share, and everybody's got their strategies here. And I think we're hearing a couple of different things, which win some people on the call, because I'm sure people are going through some stuff right now. And how do you still get through, the financial aspect of your life and go and do your job, before we transition into roundtable, any last thoughts on this? I appreciate the shares and the insights, and I think it's a really important topic because I think Margaretta hit it on the head with when you're not available, it's very difficult to do this business, right? When something is distracting you, it can be extremely difficult. So how do you realize, hey, this is going on, and here's how I'm going to attack it? Martin.
A lot of times it's like the quote we shared like a while ago where it said, we suffer more in our mind than we do in reality. That sometimes you just need to step back to see, is it really what we're going through? Is it really that bad? Are we just kind of like imploding it, basically?
There's a lot of truth to that. When we think back about all the stuff that we've worried about in the past, and you go, man, I can't believe I worried about that for a day, for a week, for a month, for however long. It's interesting when we look at it in hindsight. Well, I hope somebody gained something from that. Let's transition over to the roundtable. Who's got something going on a deal that would be a great share for everybody to learn from? Yeah.
I'll give you just a quick. It's gonna take like 30 seconds, but so we were just talking earlier in the week about condos. So I spoke to a client who came back out of the woodwork after about a year and a half, 2 years. I had her under contract 2 years ago, and it fell apart because of an appraisal gap. And she was completely disillusioned with buying real estate at that point. She said, "I'm out. I'm done." She went into the, she 2 years later, she just came back out of the woodwork, and she's like, "I got time. I have until August. Let's find a condo. Let's get it going again." I was very excited. Showed her probably, I don't know, 10 condos over the last 3 weeks. And we wrote 2 offers on 2 in Chicopee over this past weekend. One of them she didn't get. The other one, the guy was like, "Sorry, we went with another one as well." So she was kind of upset. And then I got an frantic email or text from her on Sunday saying, hey, I just got into my portal from my current place I'm leasing at, and they said I have to make a decision by Monday whether I'm going to lease again or I'm gonna lose this place in 2 months. And so I had to re-sign the lease, and I was like, it is what it is. We'll go at it again when the lease gets towards the end, I guess. And then the condo from Chicopee on Monday texted me, a guy sent me an email and said, hey, the buyer backed out. Is your client still available to buy that one? But they'd want you to go up money-wise a little bit. And I messaged her, and she was just like, no, I just signed that other lease. Now to break it, it's going to cost me 2 months rent. And so I guess the point is, like, we just talked about this, but she told me that she didn't have to renew until August, and now she, didn't even know what her own stuff was. So now we got to wait until October probably or November to start again. So bit of a pain, but just knowing where your clients are in the process. They don't know sometimes.
Right. One thing that I heard in there, Pat, that I just I'll make sure that you've taken a look at is, I don't know how desperate that condo seller is, but we know now her situation. It's going to cost her 2 months, right? Can we get that seller to give a concession of 2 months? Hey, you know what? She is still interested, but here's the deal now. As of Sunday, we could have done X. Now it's Y. I know you want more money, but here's where we're at. We'd love to do this deal. She's going to need this in concessions. Might be worth a shot.
Margaret, with a contract, a vendor contract, there's usually 24 hours or 48 hours you can get out of. Lease signing, she should be able to get out of it if she just signed it.
Yeah. So I agree with both of you guys. And I did think about that, Steve. I had a long conversation with her yesterday for probably 35, 45 minutes. The condo just wasn't the one. She just made a desperation move because of the fact that she knew she was going to have to renew, which she didn't tell me. And then, then when the guy came back, she was just like, listen, I don't even really like that condo. I just was making a move to try to make a move. And so I said, I don't want you to rush into stuff and buy stuff that you don't want to buy. So I'm not here to force you to buy something. So let's just take it slow. We'll wait until, November, because she signed a 7-month lease. So I said, let's just take it slow. We'll wait until November. You got 2 more commission checks coming by then. You'll have more money. The other weird part about it was she was putting only $1,000 down as an earnest money deposit. And I was like, you're not going to get anything putting $1,000 down. You're going to need to put more money than that down. So she'll be in a better financial position later in the year. But she's just really weird in the sense that, she tells me one thing and then 3 days later it's something, oh my God, I didn't tell you, but I have to renew my lease now. It's just weird. It's like, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, and this is somebody, obviously you've kept in touch and you feel like you had the trust, and you'd think that they would have, kind of put all the cards on the table, right? This is what sounds like a 2-year relationship at this point. Now, another thing out of curiosity, Pat, you stay in touch and be honest, over those 2 years or however long it's been, did you do anything to stay in touch, or did she just randomly reach out to you again 2 years later?
No. So with this one, I was probably touching base with her every 4 to 6 months. She is loyal to me. She told me she was loyal to me. If I get back in the game, I'm going to get back in the game with you. I kind of touch base with holidays and that kind of stuff. Like, hey, Joanne, I just want to reach out. Just make sure you're still doing good. Is everything going well? Nothing pushy. But yeah, I mean, she said when we first got to the first condo, she said, I renewed with Mike, who is her lender. She's like, I'm really excited to get going again. I wouldn't use anybody but you and Mike. So I built enough rapport back when we had the first transaction that I'm now her realtor for life. But she is sometimes you say on these calls, Steve, some clients you just got to move away from because they're never going to get one. And she's kind of one of those clients where, I'm not going to leave her hanging, but at the same time, I'm not going to run around for her either. This new time, she's like, I can't drive out there to see all these houses. Can you just go do video tours and 7 of them on a Saturday? And it's like, no, let's narrow the list down. I'll do 2 or 3, Can't be going to 7 different places and doing video tours. I have other appointments, unfortunately. So, it's just touch and go, I guess. But yeah, she's pretty loyal to me. So we're good.
Good. Yeah. And look, I've had, a run where I was, really, really heavy in production. I'm running giveaways and events, and, I'm organizing stuff for my past clients quarterly and getting them to it. And I've done all of that. And I think I've got loyal people. And then they find a friend, the neighbor, the this, the that, the other. So like, we've just got to be prepared that like, no matter how much we do, some people are not going to be loyal. It doesn't matter how much you do, whether it's clients that you think you're working with or existing clients. I mean, I remember the first time I get called into my broker's office when I was just an agent, and he called me in and he said, you know what, I just got a complaint from one of your clients. And I had one deal at the time that was kind of going sideways. And I was like, I put a good amount into it, but I could understand how the client was pissed. There was just nothing I could do about it. And I'm like, yep, it's going to be Susie, and he's like, no, it's this guy, Johnny, and I'm like, Johnny? I mean, Johnny was a client that I had put so much time and energy into and done so many extra things for. Like, you could not even imagine. Like, at that point in my career, maybe I'm 100 transactions, 80 to 100, somewhere around there, I would say. And it was like, you got to be kidding me. This client, So I mean, people can be weird. People can be weird. Tracy, you had your hand up. Did you have something for us?
Yeah, just had a little bit of an update yesterday on that deal I told you about the taxes and so I got a call from the seller's agent yesterday, and I guess this kind of goes along with what you were saying. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. The other agent's awesome. I mean, he's nice, maybe a little bit too nice. He's been in for a while, but his client is just like really unrealistic, and wanted to put the listing we have under contract back on the market. Wanted to put another tenant into that property because he finally got the next door one under contract. I'm sorry, clear to close, because again, that one was dragging for months and months and months as well. And he's like, well, if you don't put it back on the market, I'm going to fire you, and I'm just going to hire another agent. And I'm like, well, you have a deposit, so he could do that. But I mean, like, have you ever run into that where you have? I haven't had a seller go nuts like that, but have you ever run into that where there is a seller who's just they kind of go off the rails, and they think putting it back in the market and just firing an agent is just going to solve the problem, when it was actually the delays on his side and his attorney's side that caused the trickle down effect.
I mean, I've had people get upset over the craziest things, and my take has always been, when it gets to the point they are so unhappy with you, they don't want to return a phone call, everything's nasty. Yes, we've got a contract, but a referral fee to another agent of just like, hey, it doesn't sound like you want to work together anymore. It sounds like you might even have another agent that you want to, I'm happy to let you out. Let's do a referral fee. I'm not letting you out for nothing. There's 3 months left on this contract, whatever the case might be. Let's do a referral fee, and both go our separate ways. Personally, I don't want to be working with clients that don't want to work with me, and the problem is, a lot of times you've got a lot of time and energy into these deals. It could be some of the ones that you've spent the most time and energy on. So these are difficult decisions. It's just the negativity of having to deal with that client. When their name comes up on the phone, you're like, Jesus Christ, I do not want to take this call. So that's kind of my 2 cents, Nicole.
I was just going to say, Pat's story kind of comes full circle to the communication that we were talking about in the beginning of just, I think sometimes in the first year or two, it's such a hustle and everyone's just trying to get more low-hanging fruit, ready to buy buyers, because they need the commission check, obviously. But real estate is a long game, and I think it's just trying to remember that and keep that top of mind of that, in your second, third year, all those people that you stayed in touch with and stayed communicating with, they're going to come back to you if they need something. I just think that's really important to remember in your first year or two, because of course you're looking for that paycheck and you're trying to get people who are ready to buy, but real estate is a long game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality, is like, everybody, they want to get in, they want to do business, they want money now. It's just very infrequently that happens, you know. Even with a friend or a family member, if you knew that they wanted to buy, how often do they go and buy right now? And that's 30 to 60 days. It's like almost non-existent. And then, you know, if you do that your first year and you call all your friends and family and you do maybe you do a deal or two, it's like, okay, you've exhausted that. Now what are you doing in years 2, 3, 4 to keep that wheel turning? You know, it's all of the hopefully conversations that you've had over those first couple of years. So well, we are over. Great stuff. I got a couple of roundtable topics that hopefully we will get to tomorrow, unless you guys have some good stuff, because we've been. I really do appreciate lately. You guys have been bringing some good stuff, and then it always, you know, snowballs into a bunch of other channels. So I love it. I've got our backup list going, but it's been a really good call this week. Have yourselves an awesome Wednesday, and we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.